Hello and welcome to the first episode of integrating DoozyUI with Playmaker into your game. My name is Brad from Studio Tranche, and hopefully this will be the first of many DoozyUI and Playmaker tutorials to come. As I upload more videos, going to be going more into depth about the node system, the game events, portals, the buttons, UIViews, draws, as much as possibly can do. Also going to be showing you various bugs to watch out for within Doozy. I will try to give you as much detail as possible where I can, and of course the central focus of this tutorial series is showing you how you can integrate DoozyUI to work with your Playmaker setup, so you can use your own triggers, you can use your own actions and events to activate Doozy how you want. Right, so that out the way, let's get into the tutorial. Making a UIView pop up and animate using your Playmaker FSM that is being activated by a trigger to work within Playmaker. So let me show you exactly what we're going to be building. This is just a sample scene from a game. Ooh, that's pretty cool. This is just a sample scene from a game that I'm currently working on. I figured that might as well just use a current project that I'm going to be using with DoozyUI anyway, instead of just making something from scratch. So I already have an FSM set up already, which is a trigger, and I already have a node setup working as well, but I will be showing you exactly how to make those from scratch too, so it can work. So let's see what we're going to be building. There we go. So you get too close to the orb and it brings up a view that says danger, do not get any closer, you will die. And then when your player clicks confirm, then it pops out the way and you can continue to do what you want. And that is what we're going to be making. It seems quite simple, but it did take me quite a while to figure out exactly how to do this, because there seems to be a distinct lack of exactly how you can make certain events happen with Doozy and Playmaker. And that is exactly what this tutorial series is for. So in order to build this, we first need to understand how a trigger will activate this, which is what we're going to be doing first. So we're going to be coming back to Nody. We will be coming back to making a master canvas. We need to hook up a Playmaker FSM to a trigger first before you get started. So I'm just going to delete my master canvas, so now there is nothing. And before I do get started with the FSM, just go over to your tools and Doozy, and for your purposes just make sure that your Playmaker and TextMesh Pro integrations are enabled. And go over to your views. You just need to create two custom categories. You need to have one custom category for your view. I've just called mine hint view, and I have another one for your button. I'm going to be using one called start or confirm. If you're new to Doozy, these naming conventions have no functionality tied to them. These are just strings of information, so they don't hold any inherent value. They are just names. So like, you can't type something that says fly to the left. It's not going to fly to the left. It's just a name. Anyway, so without getting even more distracted, you've got your you've got your two categories set up for later. Let's build this cube. We first need to build our trigger cube. And why would we want this kind of functionality to exist in a game? Well, say for example, you want to build like a dungeon crawler or like an easy game like Dark Souls, and you want to have a UI view pop up when like they get too close to this gate, for example, and say you need a key for this area, or there is a monster hiding behind this gate. Well, I guess in Dark Souls you wouldn't have that. You would just go in blind and then you would die. Or maybe, for example, you are building something that is a little more simpler, and you are now in an area. And when your player gets to the middle there, you want a view to pop up saying find 3 keys, or find a way out, or like a splash that says welcome to the arena, or whatever combination of message you want to pop up. There is a whole slew of things that you can do with this kind of integration that we're going to be using today. So I've just made a simple cube, and just for this purpose I'm just going to make it nice and wide, and just turn off your mesh render, and you're going to want to assign this box collider as your trigger, and let's call this trigger cube. Okay, and now that you have your trigger activated, it doesn't have to be exact, just so as long as, you know, when your player gets too close to the area or object of interest, they will come into contact with that. So in your trigger cube, you can right click and you give this like a state. You can give this a state name of waiting to be entered. And in your events, you can assign this like something simple like player enters. Again, these string values hold no actual functionality. And you're going to create another state called activate. Activate hint is probably something a little more relevant. You can even go ahead and change the color of this, you know, whatever. Activate hint to green, and you can right click on your starting node and give it the first event that you created called player enters, and assign it to activate hint. So in order for this to work, you need to create an action. So trigger event will be just fine. Your game object will be specify the game object of trigger cube, and when the player enters the trigger, you can have a player or any tag. As long as something enters inside here, this is going to work. So you can have it a collider tag of player, which is fine, and it's going to be send event of player enters. There we go. And when you go into activate hint, this is where is very important. You can type in send game event from DoozyUI, and we will be coming back to this game event string a little bit later, but we have that for now. So let us see what happens when we just play this. So when we enter into this cube, then it should flow into that activate hint module over there. There we go, perfect. So it goes inside, but we haven't assigned a event yet because we have not set up our Doozy interface, which is perfect, which is absolutely fine. So now we have that set up, but we don't have a game event to be sent yet, and we are going to start building Doozy to make this an interface. So you can go ahead and right click in your hierarchy, DoozyUI, and you can make this a UI canvas. So think of this as your master canvas. There is nothing here yet. You don't have to worry about fiddling with anything for this tutorial. You just follow along. You right click on your master canvas, DoozyUI, and you go ahead and select UIView. Should be blue, perfect. And you can go ahead and change this to maybe something transparent, maybe a bit darker like a black. Change the alpha, there we go. Okay, so we have this UI view that is just going to act as our main view, and we can also include maybe some text like let's see, we're going to maybe call this danger. We can even duplicate it, and we can even add maybe some more text. saying do not get, oh, let's make it a little smaller, danger, do not get any closer to the orb, you will die. Whatever your inclination is to what you want your player to be made aware of, you know, whatever. And just going to put it right at the top there, out of the way. Position, there we go. That should be in the middle. And I'm just going to call this naming convention danger text. And let's say info, or just, yeah, warning text is actually better. And make this just a little bit smaller. Move it a little bit bigger. There we go, that's fine. And so now we have a UI view with two text objects, and we're then going to right click on UI view for one last time and go ahead and create a UI button. And this UI button is very important. This is actually going to act as our game event, which will then trigger through the trigger cube FSM to get this whole thing to work. So let me just go ahead and rename this confirm, and that is fine. So let's just get some animation going. DoozyUI is great because you can literally spend hours just fiddling around with the animation templates, and you can go nuts. You could probably spend the rest of your life trying to figure out what you want for this thing. And when we went here earlier to DoozyUI, the control panel with your views, this is very important. You need to assign your view your category that you called it, so FTB view, and I'm going to just call this, oh, I forgot to give my own view over there, so FTB view, let's call this danger view. There we go. So danger view, that's saving, and now when I go there, danger view, perfect, and I even can update it from there. So behavior at the start, you want to go ahead and set that to hide, and we can now go ahead and select some animation presets. So when your player enters into this trigger, this animation is going to show. You're going to load the selected preset at the runtime, and when your player decides, okay, cool, they're going to click confirm, it's going to slide out and bounce to the left, and that's fine, that's perfect. Okay, so now we have those things set up. You can probably just change if button is selected, deselected on hide. So once you have those things all set up, we can go into the UI button, and we can also assign it some functionality. Remember just to assign your button category, so button, start, or confirm, either or, which is fine. Remember, there is no functionality assigned to it. This is just your naming convention. I'm going to rename this to button or start or confirm. And animation, this is not necessary. This is just for this is just an aesthetic. So when they click it, you can have it just animate and scale. It's really up to you. Trigger event after animation, and this is key to what we're going to be working with to get this whole functionality to work with your FSM. In your on trigger, you need to go to your game event, and you need to assign it with a string. So let's go ahead and call this something that we can find really easily and really simply. So let's call this danger activation, just like that. So danger activation. And in your on click, this is what's going to happen when you effectively click the confirm, and the string is going to be then assigned inside your trigger cube in your game event called danger activation. And notice that we have not assigned Playmaker. We have not assigned a Playmaker event dispatcher, and we actually do not need it for the purpose of this tutorial, but for now we can probably just keep it in there for shits and giggles. We can come back to that later, because for this tutorial you don't need a Playmaker event dispatcher for your Playmaker FSM to work. So from your button you take your game event that we're going to be using for Nody later, and you're going to take that string, add it to your trigger cube, and you activate send game event and add it into your game event slot. So what happens when you now hit play? So you're walking, walking. Cool, nothing happens, which is 100% fine, because we have not assigned any action yet within Nody, because there is nothing happening. Doozy is waiting for things to happen. So for DoozyUI to work, you need to have something that is called a graph controller. I already have one that is just chilling over here, but you can go and create one yourself by Doozy Nody graph controller. And if you already don't have a graph model, then that is fine. You can do that by going ahead and creating one. So in Nody, you must go to graph, go into your Doozy folder, graphs, and then see I already have one called TFB menu graph, and you can just call this whatever called, maybe something vague like RPG graph. Something that's really easy to find, and you can just plop it in. So once you have done and saved that, you go into your graph controller, and then it will appear at the bottom and you assign it. So now this is going to be called my hint controller, which is okay, and we can then start building this thing. So in your Nody, you go ahead and right click, create node, and you go into system and wait. So what is Doozy waiting for? It is not waiting for a time, it is waiting for a game event. And the game event is what? Danger activation from over here. So you grab danger activation, and it is case and text sensitive, so if you change, you cannot have anything different over here that would be different to over here. It needs to reference exactly. Okay, so Doozy is then going to wait for a game event that is tied to your FSM, and you can go ahead and then create another node, UI node. Oops. And you can go ahead and select that. By the way, if you want to just go ahead and just say you want to delete something, you can go ahead and hold Alt and just deselect how you want. So UI node, I'm just going to rename this to activate main view. And instead of waiting for a button click, we are waiting for a game event, and that game event is danger activation. And when it says cool, I've waited for the danger activation event, it's then going to show the view of danger view. And then when it's gone inside, we can go ahead and create another UI node, assign it to over there, and then on the exit, it's then going to be let's see, is this still there? So then when we have assigned that, on the show view, when it goes inside this node, it's going to show the view of danger view, which is this view. And then on the exit, it's then going to hide, if we've set that correctly. So hide danger view, and in here it's then going to, yeah, I think that should be okay. So yeah, so it's going to go from, so it's going to wait for a game event. It's going to flow into activate your main view, which is danger activation or danger view. And when it's inside, it's going to show your view. And on exit, it's going to hide that same view. And we can just call this hide. Oops. We can call this hide tip. And the game event is going to be this. So on enter, it's going to hide the danger view. Okay, so now that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're going to go through this one more time before we do a run test. At the start of your game, when you hit play, Doozy is going to wait for the game event action string called danger activation from your button trigger event, which is over here, which is also assigned to the send game event action, which is tied to your trigger event on your trigger cube. So when this trigger cube is activated, it's going to flow into activating the main view, which is danger view. And then when it exits out after a button click, it's then going to hide that same view because look, we're watching out for that danger activation event. So if we have set all this up correctly, then this should work. So let's give this a try. We can even see this probably working in action. There we go. Let's give this a test. Getting closer. There we go. And when we click, boom, it works perfectly. And we can even go into Nody and we can probably just plop this to the side over here, and we can also see Nody working as well. So when they get too close, see. So Doozy is waiting for the wait event. Going to get closer, and then when you go inside this trigger, it is then transferred into this activate main view. And now when you click, it then goes away. Perfect. But now what happens if you don't want to use your mouse to make this go away? Because for my game, I don't really want that. I want to maybe assign a button click, for example. So let's see if we can do that. So button, let's change it to, let's just take off multiple clicks. And instead of assigning the mouse, we can maybe assign it to, let's say, like enter, which is fine. And let's see if that will work. Okay, so we're going, and we're going to press enter. Okay, so nothing happens, which is perfectly fine. We probably just need to assign a key to a game event, or maybe a key to an action. I don't think we need a key to a game event. Let's try a key code. Let's try enter, and the game event is danger activation. Let's give that a try and see if that's going to do anything. Getting too close, and we press enter, and there we go. Perfect. So now instead of using my mouse, like an idiot, I'm just going to activate that. It'll probably look a little better in a second. There we go. So it gets too close. Whoa. And now you just press enter, or you can have them press X. You can have them press another variant. Press enter, and it goes away, and you can continue. And that is pretty much how you set that up. It is actually pretty simple when you know what to do, like most things in life. But yeah, this did take quite a while to try and figure out, but there is something that you should probably also be aware of. We have not assigned a Playmaker event dispatcher to whatever we are doing. For the reasons that I'm trying to think, I don't really know why you would even need a Playmaker event dispatcher for this kind of thing, because you are dispatching game events from a custom FSM, and you are already looking out for button clicks within Doozy. So I don't know, maybe somewhere down the line we can use this, but yeah, for now the Playmaker event dispatcher in Doozy is not needed, and the game works fine. You can adjust it however. I also forgot that you can also, maybe add some sounds to your view. Yeah, okay, so in closing, I just want to just give like a few remarks about this Nody setup. Generally, when you are assigning game events to things and you go to create node game events, why did we not assign the wait to go through send game event? Well, it's not necessary. So let's say that we have that set up, and this is most likely going to work just as good. So yeah, it's waiting, and there we go. So even though we had the send game event in the middle, you still do not need it. So you can actually use your wait node as like a pass-through node. It will still work. It'll still operate fine as is, as long as you know what you're referencing. But yeah, everything works fine. You can adjust it to how you want. Your Playmaker FSM is just chilling over there. It's waiting for things to enter it and activate your DoozyUI through your game event action over here. And that's pretty much all there is to it. But one last thing. What happens if we take this string over here and we just get rid of it and we instead assign it to our UIView for whatever reason? So we assign it over there. Let's see what happens when we do that. So we still have this string. Let's see what happens. Cool. So we're waiting. Going inside. Okay. Okay. So unless you can read at the speed of light, then that's perfect. But for us regular humans, that probably is not going to work. So your wait node is waiting for something to click that button, and it's going to stay there until your user tells it to go away. Because your UIView has no other functionality assigned to it other than to just look pretty, your UIView is just going to go straight through. So yeah, I'm just going to go back and just assign. I just better take this off just to avoid any conflict over there, and put it back, and it should be working fine once again. And there we go. Okay, and that is the tutorial. I thank you so much just for watching this video. I hope it wasn't too long. This was my very first video, but hopefully the newer tutorials will be a lot shorter and more concise. But I hope I covered everything. But yeah, if I didn't cover everything, or if I left something out, or if you're unsure of something, please leave a comment below, and I will try and make up for my unprofessionalism and just see where I can help you out, or something that you're having trouble with. But yeah, hope this video tutorial helped you with better understanding how Doozy and Playmaker works. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.